Stop scrolling. 10 minutes a day separates dreamers from doers. 10 concise chapters teach habits that stack into extraordinary results. Morning rituals, purposeful planning, elite time management, habit compounding, practical mindfulness, daily networking, continual learning, energy-first health, nightly reflection, and unshakable consistency. Each episode delivers clear, usable steps you can apply immediately, narrated with authority and simple language, so action is easy. This channel releases a new audiobook chapter every day to keep momentum relentless. Subscribe now and tap the bell to lock in daily growth. This is where improvement becomes inevitable. No ads interrupt your focus. Listen fully and build progress without distractions. If measurable results and a life redesigned matter, this series is non-negotiable. Hit subscribe, follow every chapter from start to finish, and watch small, consistent moves compound into big achievement. Daily discipline beats motivation. Commit now and your future self will thank you today. Chapter 1. Morning rituals that set momentum for success. The way the day begins is the way a life unfolds. The first hour after waking is not a bland stretch of time to be surrendered to habit. It is a small kingdom where choices are still fresh and the mind is pliable. Morning rituals are not ornaments for the disciplined. They are the architecture of character. A carefully shaped morning can make distractions less seductive, decisions less frantic, and energy less erratic. The point is not to chase perfection, but to design a sequence of reliable actions that place the most important things within your control before the world demands everything else. Start with clarity about what matters. Before the noise of messages, meetings, and obligations presses in, decide on 1 to 3 priorities that will define success for this day. Keep them specific and measurable. Finish the first draft of a report, run 20 minutes at steady effort, or conduct one focused sales call. Write them down. The act of moving a thought into a written line shifts it from a warm wish into a commitment. This is the bedrock of momentum, visible intention. Wake with a small protocol. The body and brain respond to immediate inputs. When the alarm sounds, reach for a glass of water and drink it slowly. The coolness on the tongue, the texture of the glass, the small effort of lifting your arm, these are sensory anchors that pull you out of sleep without surrendering your agency to the snooze button. Open curtains or step into sunlight. Natural light signals the brain to reduce melatonin and increases alertness. If weather or schedule prevents full sun, a brief session with a bright lamp or standing by a window will do much of the same work. Move before deciding. Movement primes the nervous system. It does not need to be a marathon, it only needs to be deliberate. 10 minutes of stretching, a brisk walk, or a series of bodyweight exercises produces a different chemistry in the brain. Oxygen rises, the heart rate finds a steady tempo, and cortisol aligns with purpose rather than panic. Cold exposure, a short, cool shower or face splash, is an optional but potent tool. It sharpens attention and demonstrates to the nervous system that discomfort can be met calmly. Stoic practice includes voluntary hardship to build resilience. A brief cold shock is a simple, repeatable version of that philosophy. Create a 5-minute centering ritual. Sit with a straight spine, feet on the floor, and breathe with intention. Count 4 seconds in, hold for 2, and release for 6. Repeat for 5 cycles. The breath operates as a bridge between body and mind. It slows the churn of future worries and past regrets. During this centered breath, run 3 concise prompts through your mind and answer them in 1 sentence each. What is my 1 highest priority action today? What obstacle might appear, and how will I respond? Who depends on my steadiness today? These prompts cultivate foresight and responsibility while keeping anxiety from masquerading as preparation. Journal. but keep it sharp. Journal entries do not need to be long. A useful morning journal contains 3 lines, a gratitude note, a short plan, and an affirmation of effort. For gratitude, name something tangible: the warmth of a mug, a reliable colleague, a roof that keeps rain out. For the plan, record the 1 to 3 priorities written earlier. For the affirmation, write something that ties identity to action. Today I show up steady, or today I choose clarity over distraction. This small practice rewires attention. When gratitude is habitual, desire shifts from immediate comfort to durable purpose. Feed the mind in measured portions. The morning is an excellent time for focused intake. Read a short passage from a meaningful book, review a concise lesson, or listen to a carefully selected podcast segment that advances your skill. Avoid the temptation to scroll social feeds. That frictionless dopamine fragments attention. Instead, schedule 20 to 30 minutes of high-quality intellectual input, followed by a short summary in a single sentence. Translation of input into your own words is the seed of retention and application. Design the first work block like a ritual of war. Clear the desk, close unrelated tabs, mute non-essential notifications, and set a timer for a focused interval. 90 minutes is ideal for deep work. Begin with the most cognitively demanding task, because decision fatigue grows with each choice. Protect this block as an unassailable zone. If interruptions are unavoidable, create rules: a 10-minute buffer for urgent matters, or a single allotted slot for checking messages. The discipline of protecting the morning's focused time pays dividends by making the afternoon less reactive. Practical organization matters. Keep a simple single-page list or a minimalist app where the day's priorities live. Break large tasks into the smallest next steps. Replace vague goals. Work on project with concrete next actions. Outline section 3-5 bullet points. Small wins compound. Each completed micro-task sends a signal to the brain that momentum exists, making the next action easier to start. Cultivate sensory anchors that remind you of purpose. Place an object on the desk that triggers composure: a smooth stone, a pen used for important notes, a photograph that grounds you when attention drifts. A brief gaze at that object can be enough to pull the mind back. The world is designed to distract. Create small, physical cues that lead it back. Accept that discipline requires seasonal adjustments. Some mornings will be short, illness may reduce capacity, and obligations will change rhythm. The goal is not to enforce a rigid ritual, but to establish a set of defaults that recur more often than they don't. On difficult mornings, reduce the ritual to a single actionable habit: 1 minute of breath, 1 paragraph of writing, 1 push-up. Consistency comes from compassion for the human condition paired with a refusal to let small lapses become identity. Measure and iterate. Keep a simple log for 30 days. Note whether the morning ritual was completed and the single most important outcome for the day. Patterns will emerge. Maybe the most productive mornings are later ones, or perhaps reading before movement dulls energy. Tune the order and elements of the routine to match personal rhythms. The Stoic approach is empirical: act, observe, and adjust based on results, not on dogma. Morning relationships deserve intention. If others in the household demand attention, set clear, respectful boundaries: a sign on the door during a focus block, a shared calendar for key times, or a brief family check-in ritual before work begins. Show up fully present for the people who matter, then return to the work that matters. Presence in relationships amplifies resilience. Solitude without connection hardens into isolation. Make rest a deliberate decision. The evening that precedes the morning ritual determines much of its success. Sleep is not optional commerce with productivity. It is the currency. Maintain a bedtime ritual. Dim lights an hour before sleep, remove screens, and write a short list of tomorrow's priorities to offload mental loops. The body learns patterns. When the night is engineered for quality sleep, the morning is allowed to be fertile. Finally, measure success by the quality of attention and the steadiness of action, not by frantic busyness. A single morning that is guided by clear priorities, purposeful movement, centered breath, and focused work is worth more than dozens of chaotic dawns. The rhythm of daily rituals compounds. Small disciplines practiced repeatedly transform character as surely as any grand infrequent effort. Begin each day as an act of intentional sovereignty. Choose what will be tended, what will be let go, and what will be defended. Over time, the accumulation of such mornings becomes a life shaped by mastery, not by accident. Chapter 2. Planning your day with purpose and clarity. The clarity with which a day is planned often determines the quality of the results achieved. Planning is not a mundane checklist activity. It is a disciplined conversation with time itself. Each day presents the same 24 hours to everyone, yet some people leave these hours fragmented, reacting to emails, calls, and random impulses, while others orchestrate them with intention, ensuring that every minute serves a meaningful purpose. Purposeful planning is the bridge between ambition and action. Without it, even the most talented or motivated individuals drift, their potential diffused across trivialities rather than focused energy. Begin by visualizing the desired outcome for the day before opening a single app or checking any messages. Ask yourself, if the day ended right now, what would make it a success? Write it down in clear, concrete terms. For example, instead of thinking, work on project, frame it as complete draft of client proposal, review key metrics, and submit by 3 p.m. This transforms vague intentions into actionable milestones and anchors your attention to real progress rather than busy work. Once the end goal is clear, break the day into blocks of focused activity. Allocate specific time for each high-priority task and guard these blocks fiercely. Treat them as appointments with your future self, because that is exactly what they are. Commitments to your own productivity, competence, and growth. For instance, if a marketing executive has a major presentation due, she might block 9 am to 11:30 am for content creation, 11:30 to 12 p.m. for reviewing data, and 2 am to 3:30 p.m. for rehearsing delivery. By assigning time instead of just tasks, she prevents overrun and ensures momentum without frantic multitasking. A single, powerful practice that transforms planning is the 3 most important tasks approach. Each morning, identify no more than 3 tasks that, if accomplished, will make the day feel successful. These tasks are the pillars that hold up the rest of the day. Everything else is secondary. The focus is not on doing more, but on doing what matters most. For example, consider a software developer who has a long list of minor bug fixes, but knows that a client feature must ship today. By prioritizing that feature as task 1 and relegating the small bugs to the end of the day, she ensures meaningful progress is made, even if smaller tasks remain unfinished. Visual cues enhance the power of clarity. Keep a whiteboard, notebook, or digital tool visible where the 3 priorities are displayed prominently. Seeing these tasks continuously triggers accountability and reduces the tendency to drift toward low-value work. The visual anchor reinforces your intention repeatedly without requiring conscious effort, subtly shaping your behavior throughout the day. Consider energy patterns when planning. Not all hours carry equal potential for focus or creativity. Morning hours often yield higher concentration for cognitive tasks, while afternoon periods may be more suited for routine administrative work. High performers schedule demanding tasks during peak energy periods and reserve simpler or less critical work for lower energy times. A writer, for example, may choose to draft new chapters between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. when the mind is sharp, and handle emails or paperwork in the later afternoon. Aligning tasks with natural rhythms magnifies output without increasing effort. Planning with clarity requires confronting distractions proactively. Identify potential interruptions and create strategies to mitigate them. Turn off notifications, communicate availability boundaries to colleagues or family, and set a timer for uninterrupted work. For instance, a financial analyst preparing quarterly reports might silence phones, close messaging apps, and use a 90-minute focus timer to ensure deep engagement with the numbers. By designing the environment to support priorities, planning becomes more than theoretical. It becomes a lived experience. A critical component of purposeful planning is contingency preparation. Life inevitably introduces unforeseen events. Reserve small buffers for urgent matters, but avoid allowing these buffers to dominate the schedule. Resilient planning anticipates disruptions while still safeguarding core priorities. For example, a project manager may leave 30 minutes unassigned in each morning block to accommodate sudden client calls, but the remaining hours are structured so that essential deliverables are untouched. This balance prevents reactive chaos from dictating results. Integrating reflection into planning solidifies its effectiveness. At the end of each day, review the intended outcomes versus actual accomplishments. Note deviations, identify patterns, and adjust future plans accordingly. This feedback loop transforms daily planning from a static exercise into a dynamic growth system. A young entrepreneur, for example, may notice that creative work is consistently delayed by unplanned meetings. Recognizing this, he can adjust future schedules to reserve morning hours for creation and leave meetings for later, continuously refining his approach. Planning with purpose is inseparable from emotional intention. Recognize the psychological effect of clarity. The mind is less anxious when priorities are defined, and focus emerges naturally without forcing it. Writing down clear tasks and reviewing them in the morning signals to the subconscious that there is a path forward. It reduces decision fatigue and makes resilience easier to summon when challenges arise. The practical steps of purposeful planning can be distilled into a simple routine. Begin with a short reflection on what will make the day meaningful. Identify 3 highest impact tasks and allocate specific time blocks for them. Align these blocks with energy levels, protect them from distractions, and leave minimal buffers for unforeseen interruptions. Display the priorities visually, and at the day's end, evaluate performance and learn. Each element reinforces the others, creating a coherent framework where clarity drives action and action drives results. Real-life application reinforces theory. Consider an executive responsible for multiple teams and deadlines. On one particular day, she dedicates 10 minutes in the morning to map out the top 3 priorities. Finalizing a client pitch, resolving a team conflict, and reviewing quarterly sales projections. She assigns dedicated time blocks for each, switches off email notifications, and communicates her unavailability to staff. By 3 p.m. the pitch is complete, the conflict is addressed constructively, and she has prepared a summary of projections for leadership. The remaining tasks, though important, are addressed without urgency. This focused structure ensures that the highest value outcomes are achieved consistently, building momentum over time. Planning is not rigid adherence to a schedule, but a flexible mastery of intention. The power lies in choosing what to act on, rather than reacting to whatever presents itself. A day planned with purpose transforms hours into achievements, decisions into progress, and intentions into reality. Each morning, the simple act of defining outcomes, prioritizing rigorously, and allocating time with respect for personal energy becomes a discipline that compounds over months and years. This consistent practice separates those who drift from those who advance decisively toward their goals. Purposeful daily planning is the quiet, unseen engine behind exceptional performance. It is not glamorous, but it is profoundly empowering. By committing to this practice, individuals reclaim their time, direct their energy toward what matters, and cultivate a steady, unshakable confidence in their ability to produce meaningful outcomes. The structure it provides allows creativity, resilience, and focus to flourish naturally. In the rhythm of deliberate planning, the chaos of opportunity becomes a path of clarity, and the scattered fragments of daily life converge into progress that is tangible, measurable, and enduring. Over time, this disciplined approach transforms perception. Days no longer feel like a series of crises and interruptions, but as a sequence of deliberate, achievable actions aligned with long-term goals. The clarity gained from purposeful planning becomes the lens through which all decisions are filtered, the compass guiding both small daily choices and major strategic moves. It builds a life where action is intentional, focus is habitual, and progress is inevitable. When each morning begins with this disciplined conversation with time, success ceases to be accidental. It emerges naturally from a day structured with foresight, anchored in priorities, and executed with unwavering attention. Planning with purpose and clarity is not merely about organizing tasks. It is about shaping reality through intention, building momentum that carries through every hour, and designing a life where achievement is the natural consequence of thoughtful, decisive action. Chapter 3: Effective Time Management Strategies for Peak Productivity. Time is the one resource that cannot be replenished, borrowed, or extended. Every second spent is gone forever, and how it is used determines the trajectory of life, achievement, and fulfillment. Peak productivity is not about filling hours with tasks or creating busyness. It is about aligning action with intention, ensuring that every moment contributes meaningfully to outcomes that matter. Highly successful individuals understand that managing time is not simply about working harder. It is about working smarter, eliminating waste, and designing systems that allow effort to compound naturally. One transformative approach is to view time in terms of energy and value rather than mere minutes. Each task carries a weight of importance and urgency. By consciously evaluating what activities yield the highest return relative to the time invested, productivity becomes a matter of prioritization and focus. For example, responding to 10 short emails may take 30 minutes, but preparing a client proposal that could generate a significant deal may take the same time with far greater impact. Success is not determined by the volume of work completed, but by the strategic allocation of energy to high-value activities. Begin by tracking time without judgment. For 1 week, record every activity and note how long it takes. This practice uncovers hidden drains and habitual distractions that subtly erode effectiveness. Many assume they are productive, yet repeated social media checks, unstructured meetings, and fragmented attention reveal the true pattern. Seeing time mapped objectively creates awareness and provides the foundation for deliberate management. Awareness alone can increase efficiency because it exposes the invisible friction that impedes progress. A single powerful practice is the time-blocking method. Rather than maintaining an endless to-do list, divide the day into predefined blocks of focused activity dedicated to specific objectives. For instance, an entrepreneur might reserve 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for creative product development, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. for correspondence, and 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. for client meetings. During these blocks, distractions are eliminated, Phones are silenced, notifications are off, and environmental cues are aligned with focus. The rigid structure paradoxically allows for freedom because it guarantees that meaningful work is accomplished without constant decision-making. Real-life application demonstrates the potency of this method. Consider a digital marketing specialist juggling campaign launches, client requests, and team management. By implementing time blocks, she dedicates uninterrupted morning hours to analyzing campaign data, a task requiring deep concentration. The afternoon is then segmented into short periods for email responses, social updates, and team discussions. The result is that high-stakes analytical work is completed efficiently, while smaller reactive tasks do not consume disproportionate attention. The mental clarity that emerges from knowing exactly when each type of work occurs creates an effortless momentum that fuels further accomplishment. Another essential element is prioritization based on the principle of leverage. Not all tasks are created equal. Some have ripple effects far beyond their immediate completion. Identifying these high-leverage activities is crucial. A software developer, for example, may focus on writing a reusable module that accelerates multiple future projects rather than fixing minor bugs one at a time. By directing attention to activities with amplified impact, time is multiplied and outcomes are exponentially improved. Time management also requires conscious handling of interruptions. External demands and unexpected events are inevitable, but the way they are addressed defines productivity. A strategy known as the scheduled interruption window can be effective. Designate specific periods for calls, messages, and ad hoc requests, while protecting the remaining time for deep work. This prevents the constant fracturing of attention that plagues so many professionals. The consistency of uninterrupted focus allows tasks to be completed faster and with higher quality. One overlooked yet vital practice is batching similar tasks. Human cognition thrives on consistency. Constantly switching contexts wastes energy and reduces efficiency. By grouping similar activities together, the mind operates within a predictable framework that minimizes friction. An accountant, for instance, may allocate a single 2-hour block to review all client invoices rather than scattering them across the day. This approach reduces cognitive load and increases speed without sacrificing accuracy. Reflection at the end of the day reinforces effectiveness. Evaluate which tasks were completed, which were deferred, and why. Were the highest value activities given adequate time? Did distractions or poor estimates consume the day's potential? Recording these insights informs adjustments for the following day, creating a cycle of continuous improvement. Even minor shifts, rescheduling meetings, reallocating tasks, or adjusting time blocks compound over weeks to produce dramatic improvements in efficiency and output. Energy management complements time management. Peak productivity occurs when physical, mental, and emotional energy is aligned with effort. Highly productive people structure tasks around their natural energy patterns, demanding analytical work during periods of high alertness, routine operational tasks during moderate energy, and creative reflection during lighter intervals. Neglecting this alignment often leads to burnout, inefficiency, and frustration. Awareness of personal rhythms allows individuals to maximize output without forcing performance, making productivity sustainable rather than exhausting. A practical example of combined energy and time management comes from a consulting professional balancing client deadlines with strategic thinking. She reserves mornings, when her focus is strongest, for intensive analysis and strategy formulation. Administrative responsibilities are deferred to later in the day when energy dips. Meetings are scheduled post-lunch, a period suited to collaborative discussion rather than individual deep work. This alignment ensures that energy-intensive tasks are completed efficiently, reducing the likelihood of mistakes and enhancing decision-making quality. Technology is a double-edged sword in productivity. When used intentionally, it streamlines work and automates repetitive processes. When left unmanaged, it fragments attention and creates distraction loops. Successful individuals employ tools for task management, scheduling, and automation, yet maintain strict discipline over notifications, social feeds, and multitasking temptations. A marketing manager, for instance, may automate reporting and scheduling posts while limiting email checks to 3 designated times. The result is a significant reduction in time wasted on trivial interruptions. The mindset underpinning effective time management is equally important. Time is treated as a finite asset, not an endless commodity. Every task, meeting, or commitment is evaluated for return on investment. Saying no becomes a strategic choice, not an act of avoidance. Boundaries are respected, and focus is defended with quiet but unwavering consistency. This approach cultivates respect from colleagues, reduces stress, and creates a visible trajectory of accomplishment. Ultimately, peak productivity emerges from a disciplined framework that integrates awareness, prioritization, scheduling, energy alignment, and reflection. Each of these elements reinforces the others, producing a feedback loop of effectiveness. Small, deliberate shifts in the way time is approached accumulate into dramatic results, transforming a scattered or reactive day into a sequence of intentional, high-value actions. Time management is not about working more hours or cramming more tasks into the day. It is about making conscious decisions regarding where attention is placed, protecting that attention and aligning action with strategic goals. Those who master this skill experience not just increased output, but reduced stress, clearer thinking, and a profound sense of control over their lives. The satisfaction of watching carefully allocated hours produce tangible results reinforces commitment and strengthens the habit itself. By consistently applying these principles, individuals create a rhythm of productivity that becomes second nature. Deep work is protected, priorities are met, distractions are minimized, and energy is harnessed optimally. Over weeks and months, this practice compounds, producing achievements that seem disproportionate to effort because each action was magnified by intelligent design. A day carefully managed becomes not just productive, but a source of confidence, resilience, and motivation. Time management is ultimately a form of self-respect. Each block of focused work, each deliberate decision, and each high-leverage action signals to the world and to oneself that priorities are chosen intentionally. Mastering time allows for mastery of results, creating a life where productivity is not accidental, stress is minimized, and meaningful outcomes are consistently realized. By treating time as the precious, non-renewable resource it is, individuals align their actions with purpose, building a trajectory of success that grows steadily, inevitably, and powerfully. Chapter 4: Building Habits that Compound Over Time. True transformation rarely comes from grand gestures. It emerges quietly, persistently, from the small repeated actions that accumulate over time. Habits are the invisible scaffolding of achievement. They shape behavior, mold character, and silently determine the trajectory of a life long before conscious decisions intervene. The most successful people understand that excellence is not an act performed once, but a practice maintained consistently. Each micro-action, when repeated daily, compounds into remarkable results. The critical insight is that the effects of habits are not linear. They grow exponentially, like interest accruing in a bank account, unnoticed at first, but unstoppable once momentum builds. Building powerful habits begins with identifying the smallest possible unit of action. Large ambitions can feel overwhelming and often lead to procrastination, but micro-habits are accessible and concrete. Instead of saying, "I will exercise an hour every day," focus on, "I will do 5 push-ups immediately after waking." This reduces friction, lowers resistance, and sets the stage for consistency. The emphasis is not on perfection or intensity, it is on repetition. Over days and weeks, the action naturally expands. The initial 5 push-ups may lead to 10, then a short routine, then a full workout, all without relying on sheer willpower. One practice that exemplifies the compounding power of habits is the stacking approach. It involves linking a new habit to an existing, well-established one. For example, a professional who already brushes teeth every morning can attach a habit of reviewing a daily affirmation or reading 1 page of a book immediately afterward. This connection leverages existing neurological pathways, making the new habit more likely to take root. The brain craves patterns. By piggybacking a new behavior onto a trusted routine, resistance is minimized and consistency increases. Real-world application demonstrates the strength of this method. Consider a young entrepreneur who wanted to improve financial literacy, but struggled to find time for study. She decided to read a single page of a finance book every morning immediately after pouring her first cup of coffee, a habit she already practiced daily. Within a few months, those tiny increments accumulated into several completed books, actionable insights applied to her business, and a measurable increase in confidence and decision-making skill. The compounded result of a few minutes daily far exceeded sporadic, longer sessions that never became routine. Another key principle is environment design. Habits thrive when cues are obvious and friction is minimized. Place tools, reminders, and triggers in locations that naturally prompt action. A person aiming to write daily may leave a notebook open on the desk with a pen resting atop it. The visible cue makes initiation almost automatic. Conversely, reducing exposure to distraction ensures that positive habits are not constantly undermined. For instance, keeping a phone in another room while engaging in focused work decreases interruptions and allows the habit to persist with minimal cognitive effort. Consistency, not intensity, is the cornerstone of compounding. High performers avoid the trap of doing too much too soon. The goal is to ensure that the habit survives day after day. Missing a session occasionally does not negate progress, but abandoning a habit entirely does. Small, reliable actions maintain momentum. A musician practicing scales for 10 minutes daily eventually develops technical proficiency far beyond sporadic 2-hour sessions completed inconsistently. Incremental effort multiplied over time produces mastery that seems effortless in retrospect, but is rooted in relentless discipline. Tracking progress accelerates compounding effects. Recording completion, no matter how trivial the action may seem, reinforces commitment and provides visible evidence of growth. A simple journal, habit app, or calendar mark transforms abstract intention into concrete accomplishment. The psychological satisfaction of seeing streaks maintained strengthens resolve and subtly rewires motivation from extrinsic rewards to intrinsic habit reinforcement. For instance, a salesperson committed to daily prospecting might mark each day on a calendar. The streak itself becomes a motivator, encouraging continuation even when energy or enthusiasm wanes. Understanding the feedback loop of habit formation is crucial. Each repetition strengthens neural pathways, making the behavior increasingly automatic and reducing reliance on conscious willpower. This is the essence of compounding. What feels effortful at first becomes second nature over time. Successive days of consistent action build resilience, confidence, and competence simultaneously. The effect is exponential rather than additive. The effort invested in the early stages yields disproportionately large returns later, often in ways that were impossible to predict at the outset. A practical example of compounding can be seen in language learning. One individual dedicated 5 minutes each day to vocabulary practice, never more than 10 words at a time. Initially, progress was barely noticeable. However, after 6 months, the incremental learning accumulated into thousands of words, retained, enabling fluid reading and conversation. The key was adherence to daily action, rather than intensity or marathon sessions. Compounding worked quietly in the background, producing results that would have seemed impossible from a single day's effort. Momentum is another natural byproduct of compounding habits. Once a behavior becomes embedded, it generates energy for adjacent improvements. A person who develops a consistent morning exercise routine often finds motivation to improve nutrition, sleep patterns, and stress management. Small wins reinforce self-efficacy, creating a virtuous cycle. Each habit supports the next, forming a network of behaviors that collectively elevate performance and quality of life. Reflection and adjustment are essential companions to habit formation. Not every action initially yields the desired outcome. Observing what works, what triggers lapses, and what environmental or emotional factors influence adherence allows refinement. Flexibility does not mean abandoning discipline. It means designing habits that are robust, adaptive, and sustainable. A writer may discover that writing immediately after lunch is more effective than first thing in the morning. Adjusting the timing preserves the habit's consistency while maximizing output. Accountability amplifies the compounding effect. Sharing progress with a trusted peer, mentor, or coach creates external reinforcement that complements internal motivation. Even minimal reporting, such as a daily text confirming completion, enhances commitment and resilience. Social reinforcement leverages the human inclination toward consistency, making habits more likely to endure. For example, a professional aiming to meditate daily may join a small accountability group, where members check in each morning, producing a network of support that strengthens adherence. Ultimately, the power of compounding habits lies in patience and persistence. Immediate results are rare, and visible progress may take weeks or months. This delayed gratification requires discipline, but the eventual outcomes are disproportionate to initial effort. A single day of practice may feel insignificant, yet accumulated over months and years, the impact reshapes skill, character, and life trajectory. Recognizing this long-term perspective transforms minor actions into meaningful investment in future self. The essence of building compounding habits is to choose wisely, start small, remain consistent, track progress, and iterate intelligently. Each micro-action, when executed daily, acts like a single drop of water carving stone, gradual, almost imperceptible at first, but unstoppable over time. The resulting transformation is profound. What begins as a modest intention becomes an automatic, resilient behavior that yields exponential rewards. Life, shaped by such habits, becomes predictable in its excellence, intentional in its direction, and powerful in its cumulative impact. By embedding small, deliberate actions into daily life, compounding habits create a foundation for success that is self-sustaining and resilient. Each choice, repeated faithfully, sets the stage for achievement far beyond what seems possible in the moment. The discipline, patience, and foresight to nurture these habits distinguish those who reach extraordinary levels of accomplishment from those who rely solely on fleeting motivation. Through consistent, thoughtful action, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and time itself becomes an ally rather than an adversary. Chapter 5. Mindfulness Techniques to Maintain Focus and Calm. Focus is fragile, easily shattered by distractions, internal chatter, and the constant barrage of stimuli demanding attention. Highly successful individuals understand that productivity and calm are not achieved solely through hard work or time management. They require the deliberate cultivation of mental clarity and emotional equilibrium. Mindfulness is the anchor in this turbulent sea, a practice that strengthens attention, reduces reactive impulses, and allows decisions to emerge from a place of awareness rather than instinctive reaction. It is not an abstract concept reserved for meditation retreats. It is a practical daily strategy for managing thought, emotion, and behavior in ways that produce tangible results. The starting point of mindfulness is noticing the present moment without judgment. This may sound simple, but most people drift through life on autopilot, reacting habitually rather than responding consciously. The mind flits from worry about the future to regret over the past, rarely settling into the reality of the present. Recognizing this tendency is the first step toward mastering focus. One powerful approach is the 3 deep breaths reset. Whenever awareness is pulled away by stress, distraction, or overwhelm, pausing to take 3 slow, deliberate breaths brings attention back to the body, slowing the mental churn and producing immediate calm. A single practice that embodies this principle is a daily 5-minute mindful observation. Choose a consistent time, such as after waking or before starting work. Sit comfortably with a straight spine, allow the eyes to soften, and notice sensations without judgment: the weight of the body on the chair, sounds in the environment, temperature on the skin. Thoughts may arise, and that is normal. Simply note them as thinking, and gently return attention to the breath or sensations. This trains the mind to recognize distraction, acknowledge it without emotional entanglement, and return to focus. Real-world application of mindfulness demonstrates its impact. A project manager overwhelmed by back-to-back meetings and urgent emails adopted this 5-minute practice each morning. Initially, it felt trivial, almost a pause in productivity. Within weeks, however, she noticed that during high-pressure calls, she was less reactive, responded more thoughtfully, and experienced a significant reduction in stress. Decisions were clearer, communications more concise, and she felt a sense of control over her day that had previously been elusive. Mindfulness, practiced consistently, compounded into measurable improvements in performance and well-being. The body serves as an essential gateway to mental clarity. Posture, breath, and movement all influence the mind's ability to focus. Even subtle slumping can trigger fatigue, irritability, or mental wandering. Engaging in deliberate posture correction and slow breathing exercises multiple times per day signals to the nervous system that attention and calm are priorities. One effective technique is the box breathing method, which involves inhaling for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and pausing for 4. Repeating this cycle several times reduces stress hormones and restores cognitive function, creating an internal environment conducive to focused work. Mindfulness also extends to digital interaction. Constant notifications, multitasking, and fragmented attention erode concentration. A mindful approach involves setting boundaries, designate specific intervals to check emails, mute non-essential alerts, and create uninterrupted blocks for focused tasks. For instance, a software developer began checking messages only at the top of each hour, allowing the remainder of the time to remain undisturbed. The result was a dramatic increase in output and a reduction in the cognitive cost of frequent context switching. By consciously structuring digital interactions, attention is preserved and deep work becomes achievable. Sensory engagement enhances mindfulness. Paying attention to what is seen, heard, or felt anchors the mind in reality and reduces rumination. When walking between meetings, notice the texture of the ground beneath your feet, the rhythm of steps, the sound of the environment. Engaging senses deliberately interrupts autopilot patterns and strengthens awareness. A designer practicing this during short walks between client appointments found that creative ideas emerged more fluidly as the mind, freed from persistent distraction, could connect patterns and generate novel solutions. Another critical element is labeling emotions. Rather than reacting instinctively to frustration, anxiety, or excitement, simply naming the experience, "This is irritation, this is excitement," creates a mental pause that allows choice. Emotional labeling reduces impulsivity and increases decision-making clarity. A sales executive, prone to reactive negotiation in high-stakes calls, implemented this method. By silently noting feelings as they arose, he maintained composure, delivered proposals more persuasively, and avoided counterproductive concessions, demonstrating the tangible value of mindfulness in professional settings. Integrating mindfulness into habitual routines multiplies its effectiveness. Pairing micro-practices with regular tasks ensures consistency. For example, using hand-washing as a cue for 3 conscious breaths, reviewing one priority task before checking email, or noticing posture before answering a call. These small touch points transform ordinary actions into opportunities for presence, gradually reshaping attention patterns. The mind learns that focus and calm are not extraordinary states achieved occasionally, but default conditions cultivated intentionally. Visualization amplifies the benefits of mindfulness. Spending brief moments imagining the desired outcome of a task, coupled with the feelings associated with success, aligns attention and behavior toward productive action. A professional preparing for a difficult presentation might visualize delivering ideas with confidence, observing audience engagement, and feeling the satisfaction of clarity. The practice reduces anxiety, enhances performance, and reinforces the connection between awareness and deliberate action. Reflection at day's end reinforces learning. Taking a few minutes to review moments of distraction, observe emotional responses, and note when attention was sustained, cultivates meta-awareness. Patterns emerge, insights form, and strategies for improvement are clarified. Over time, this reflection becomes a powerful feedback loop, guiding both focus and emotional regulation. For example, a teacher reviewing her day identified consistent triggers for mental drift, such as back-to-back administrative tasks, and adjusted her schedule to include brief mindfulness breaks, improving both energy and teaching effectiveness. The practice of mindful pauses transforms ordinary routines into powerful instruments of clarity. Simple, repeated interventions, breath awareness, sensory engagement, emotional labeling, visualization, compound into a mental architecture capable of sustaining attention in complex, high-pressure environments. Highly successful people do not rely solely on talent or motivation. They design conditions that make focus and calm inevitable outcomes of their choices. Mindfulness becomes a strategic tool, enabling deliberate action, controlled response, and peak performance. Consistency matters more than intensity. A brief daily mindfulness exercise performed reliably produces more lasting results than sporadic, prolonged meditation sessions. The accumulation of small moments of awareness strengthens neural pathways associated with attention, self-regulation, and emotional resilience. The mind gradually learns to remain present, notice distractions without judgment, and return quickly to productive focus, creating a feedback loop of efficiency and calm. By committing to these techniques, individuals experience measurable improvement in concentration, emotional regulation, and decision-making. Each practice, however small, builds on the last, producing compounding benefits that touch every aspect of professional and personal life. A consistent daily routine centered on mindfulness strengthens the capacity to respond rather than react, creating mental space for innovation, thoughtful leadership, and effective problem-solving. Ultimately, mindfulness is the bridge between intention and action. It equips individuals to navigate the complexity of modern life with composure, maintain focus under pressure, and perform at the highest level without succumbing to stress. The deliberate cultivation of awareness through structured practices embedded in daily routines transforms scattered attention into purposeful engagement and chaotic days into deliberate, controlled achievement. Over time, the compounded effect of mindful action produces not only professional excellence, but a life marked by clarity, balance, and resilience. Chapter 6. Networking Daily. How relationships drive achievements. Success rarely happens in isolation. Achievements are often the product of networks, connections, and relationships cultivated over time. Highly successful individuals understand that human capital, the people around them, is as critical as skill, knowledge, or effort. Relationships provide insight, support, opportunity, and accountability. The value of a connection is not always immediate. It compounds quietly, like seeds planted in fertile soil, producing results over months or years. Network is not about collecting business cards or shallow interactions. It is about deliberate, daily engagement, the consistent investment of attention, energy, and authenticity that strengthens bonds and opens doors naturally. The first step in building meaningful relationships is intentionality. Approach each interaction with the question, how can I add value? Success is rarely accelerated by self-interest alone. Providing support, insight, or encouragement builds trust and credibility. This can be as simple as sending a short note acknowledging someone's recent achievement, offering a helpful resource, or making a connection that benefits another person's goals. For example, a software engineer noticed a colleague struggling with integrating a new tool. By sharing a concise guide and offering a brief demonstration, he not only helped the colleague complete the project faster, but also established a reputation as someone dependable and resourceful. That small act led to later collaboration opportunities and increased professional visibility. Consistency is critical. Networking daily doesn't require hours of effort. Even small repeated actions accumulate into strong relationships. This could mean checking in with one professional contact each day, commenting thoughtfully on a post, or sending a brief email expressing appreciation or interest. The key is regular engagement that keeps connections active, rather than sporadic outreach that feels forced or transactional. Over time, the network becomes a living ecosystem of mutual support, advice, and opportunity. One practice that consistently produces results is the daily value touch. Every day, identify one person in your professional or personal network and provide value to them without expecting immediate return. This could be sharing an article relevant to their work, offering insight into a problem they're facing, or simply acknowledging a success. The act of contributing strengthens rapport, builds goodwill, and increases the likelihood that when you need support, people are naturally inclined to respond positively. Real-life application of this approach illustrates its power. Consider an entrepreneur who committed to sending one meaningful message per day to someone in her professional circle. Some messages were congratulatory, some offered resources, and others simply checked in on progress. Within 6 months, she had reinforced dozens of relationships that had previously been dormant. When seeking partnerships and advice for a new venture, she discovered that the groundwork she had laid through consistent value creation led to faster introductions, enthusiastic recommendations, and actionable support, demonstrating how small daily efforts compounded into tangible results. Listening is an often overlooked component of effective networking. Truly understanding the needs, goals, and concerns of others allows you to respond thoughtfully, tailor contributions, and build trust. Active listening requires presence, patience, and focus. Ask questions, paraphrase, to confirm understanding, and refrain from immediately turning the conversation to your own agenda. For instance, a consultant engaging a prospective client discovered that the client's primary concern was not the service itself, but the timing and integration with internal processes. By addressing this, she not only secured the contract, but also strengthened credibility, showing attentiveness and understanding. Follow-through is equally essential. Offering help, advice, or a connection without completing the promise damages trust. High performers ensure that commitments made in networking interactions are honored promptly. Even small, consistent follow-through signals reliability, which strengthens both personal and professional bonds over time. A manager mentoring junior staff members noticed that regular, timely feedback and actionable guidance fostered respect and loyalty, creating a culture where team members were more engaged and willing to contribute beyond expectations. Quality outweighs quantity. Effective networking is not about amassing hundreds of contacts, but cultivating deep, authentic connections with those who align with your values, interests, and goals. Investing time in a smaller circle of meaningful relationships produces greater long-term benefits than superficial engagement with a large number of individuals. For example, a researcher collaborating with 3 trusted colleagues on joint projects consistently generated more impactful publications and innovation than attempting to network broadly without depth. Storytelling enhances engagement in relationships. Sharing experiences, lessons, and insights in a concise and compelling manner makes interactions memorable and meaningful. When done authentically, storytelling creates a sense of connection and relatability, encouraging others to engage more openly. A team leader who incorporated brief narratives about challenges overcome during meetings found that team members were more forthcoming with their own ideas and concerns, fostering trust and collaborative problem solving. Time management intersects with networking. Scheduling consistent touchpoints, whether virtual or in person, ensures that relationships do not erode due to neglect. Using calendars, reminders, and habit-forming strategies to maintain regular contact keeps relationships vibrant. An executive, for instance, scheduled recurring 15-minute check-ins with key mentors and collaborators. These short but consistent interactions maintained strong rapport and facilitated continuous exchange of ideas, advice, and opportunities, reinforcing the importance of disciplined scheduling in relational success. Networking also involves strategic exposure. Attending events, joining professional communities, and engaging in forums where like-minded individuals congregate increases visibility and opens doors to mutually beneficial interactions. Presence alone is insufficient. Contribution, insight, and authentic engagement are what transform exposure into meaningful relationships. A designer attending industry workshops not only absorbed knowledge, but also shared unique perspectives during discussions, resulting in invitations to collaborate on high-profile projects. Strategic networking balances visibility with value, ensuring interactions are productive and memorable. Emotional intelligence is a core component of networking success. Understanding social cues, regulating one's own responses, and empathizing with others enhances connection quality. People are drawn to those who demonstrate patience, insight, and consideration. For example, a leader navigating a contentious negotiation employed empathy to acknowledge opposing concerns, which diffused tension and fostered collaborative problem-solving. Emotional intelligence magnifies the impact of networking by ensuring interactions leave positive, lasting impressions. Daily reflection strengthens networking practices. At the end of each day, review interactions, note what worked well, identify areas for improvement, and consider opportunities to follow up. This conscious evaluation transforms casual contact into a deliberate, strategic process. Over time, reflection cultivates awareness, refines communication skills, and ensures relationships are nurtured with intent rather than by chance. Ultimately, networking is about reciprocity, consistency, and authenticity. Daily investment in relationships multiplies over time, producing opportunities, insights, and support that would be impossible to achieve alone. The cumulative effect of small, deliberate actions, acknowledging achievements, offering assistance, listening actively, and following through, creates a robust network that fuels both personal and professional growth. By embedding daily relational practices into routines, individuals transform their networks from passive acquaintances into active partners in success. Each interaction is an opportunity to reinforce trust, provide value, and cultivate goodwill. Over months and years, these actions compound into a web of support, collaboration, and opportunity that accelerates achievement, demonstrating that relationships are not peripheral to success. They are central to it. Chapter 7. Continuous learning and skill development every day. The world does not wait for anyone. Industries evolve, technologies advance, and knowledge expands at a pace that can render yesterday's expertise obsolete. Highly successful people recognize that learning is not a phase to complete in school or during early career years. It is a lifelong commitment. Every day offers the chance to acquire new insights, refine skills, and adapt to emerging opportunities. Continuous learning is not merely about accumulating information. It is about integrating knowledge into action, translating understanding into competence, and converting growth into measurable results. The most effective learners treat skill development as a daily ritual, a non-negotiable practice that compounds silently over time. The first step is cultivating a mindset of curiosity and openness. The belief that there is always more to understand fuels motivation and resilience. Individuals who see challenges as opportunities to learn are naturally inclined to explore, experiment, and improve. For example, a marketing professional noticing a sudden shift in consumer behavior could view it as a threat to established methods or as a chance to research trends, test new strategies, and emerge more effective. This mindset transforms obstacles into avenues for development rather than barriers to success. One practice that drives continuous learning is the daily knowledge bite. Set aside a fixed period each day, 10, 20, or 30 minutes, to engage with new material relevant to your field or personal growth. The key is consistency and focused attention. The learning can take many forms: reading a chapter of a book, reviewing an industry report, watching an expert talk, or practicing a micro skill. For instance, a software engineer might spend 20 minutes daily exploring a new programming language or framework, gradually expanding expertise in ways that would be impossible through sporadic study. Real-life application demonstrates the compounding effect of this approach. A young entrepreneur committed to the daily knowledge bite by reading a single business article each morning. At first, progress felt incremental and almost imperceptible. After 6 months, the accumulated insights informed strategy, improved decision-making, and enhanced communication with investors and clients. The small daily investment multiplied over time, producing outcomes that far exceeded the apparent effort, illustrating the principle that knowledge, like interest, compounds quietly but powerfully. Learning is most effective when it is active rather than passive. Engaging with material critically, questioning, summarizing, and applying it ensures deeper understanding and retention. For example, after reading an article on customer behavior analytics, a marketing manager might draft a brief implementation plan for her own campaigns, immediately testing concepts in a practical context. This bridges theory and application, reinforcing knowledge while generating tangible results. Active learning converts information into functional skill rather than inert facts. Reflection and review enhance the learning process. At the end of each day, revisiting what was learned consolidates understanding, identifies gaps, and uncovers patterns. The mind recognizes progress and reinforces neural pathways associated with retention. For instance, a designer reviewing sketches and feedback from the day can identify recurring mistakes, internalize lessons, and adapt approaches for the next project. This iterative reflection ensures learning is cumulative and continuously optimized. The environment significantly influences the ability to learn. Highly productive learners structure surroundings to minimize distractions, ensure access to resources, and foster focus. This may involve creating a dedicated study space, keeping reference materials organized, or using digital tools to track progress and insights. A financial analyst, for example, might set up a workstation with market data feeds, analytical tools, and note-taking software readily accessible, allowing seamless integration of new knowledge into daily work. Optimized environments reduce friction and increase the likelihood that learning becomes habitual. Learning is amplified when combined with experimentation. Knowledge alone is insufficient without practical application. Highly successful individuals test concepts in real-world situations, adjusting strategies based on results. For instance, a sales professional experimenting with different communication techniques in client calls gains both theoretical and experiential insights. The feedback loop created by immediate application strengthens skill acquisition and accelerates competence. Networking enhances learning as well. Engaging with experts, mentors, and peers exposes one to diverse perspectives and ideas that would be difficult to encounter independently. Discussing concepts, challenging assumptions, and exchanging experiences enriches understanding and often sparks creative solutions. A startup founder participating in industry forums not only absorbed new trends, but also received practical advice from seasoned entrepreneurs, accelerating problem-solving and innovation. Daily, intentional engagement with knowledgeable individuals multiplies the impact of learning efforts. Accountability ensures consistency. Sharing learning goals with a mentor, peer, or group increases commitment and reinforces progress. For example, a language learner committing to a daily 10-minute vocabulary practice with a study partner maintains discipline far more effectively than when practicing alone. The social component of accountability transforms personal commitment into a reinforced habit, sustaining momentum even when motivation fluctuates. Time allocation is essential. Learning should be embedded into daily schedules as a non-negotiable activity rather than treated as optional or reactive. Highly successful individuals often reserve morning or evening blocks for focused skill development, protecting this time as if it were a critical meeting. Consistent, small increments accumulate, creating a body of knowledge and capability that grows disproportionately to the daily time invested. The principle of compounding applies equally to skill acquisition. Small, consistent efforts accumulate into profound expertise. A pianist practicing scales for 15 minutes daily develops technical precision that sporadic 2-hour sessions cannot achieve. Similarly, professionals dedicating short daily sessions to learning new tools or methodologies develop expertise far beyond those who rely on sporadic, intensive study. The cumulative effect of disciplined learning is dramatic and enduring. A commitment to curiosity sustains momentum. Exploring tangential topics, cross-disciplinary knowledge, and new ideas expands perspective and enhances problem-solving abilities. An engineer learning principles of behavioral psychology can design more intuitive user experiences. Cross-pollination of skills not only enriches understanding, but also produces innovative applications that singular focus often misses. Daily curiosity ensures that growth is not confined to a narrow lane, but radiates outward into diverse competencies. Mindset influences retention and application. Viewing mistakes and failures as learning opportunities rather than setbacks encourages resilience and continuous development. A professional delivering a flawed presentation might analyze what went wrong, identify improvement areas, and adjust preparation methods. Each setback becomes a stepping stone for skill enhancement, reinforcing the value of learning as an ongoing process rather than a destination. Ultimately, continuous learning is a discipline, not a sporadic choice. It requires intentionality, consistency, reflection, experimentation, and the integration of insights into practical action. The cumulative impact of daily, focused skill development transforms potential into competence, knowledge into wisdom, and effort into results. The path of constant learning distinguishes those who adapt, innovate, and excel from those who stagnate. By embedding a daily practice of learning into life, individuals create a self-reinforcing cycle of growth. Knowledge acquired is applied, feedback informs further learning, and competence compounds into mastery. Each day represents an opportunity to move the needle slightly forward, and over months and years, the incremental gains aggregate into exceptional expertise and capability. Success in this sense is not a product of occasional brilliance, but of relentless, intentional daily development. Chapter 8. Health practices that fuel energy and performance. Energy is the currency of achievement. No matter how much knowledge, skill, or strategy someone possesses, without sustained physical and mental vitality, performance suffers. Highly successful people understand that health is not merely a backdrop to productivity, it is the foundation that enables focus, creativity, resilience, and execution at peak levels. Daily habits that fuel energy are not indulgences, they are investments in the capacity to perform consistently, think clearly, and respond effectively under pressure. Health practices, when approached with discipline and intentionality, compound over time, producing long-term vitality and sustained success. One critical principle is the integration of movement into daily life. The body is designed for activity, and prolonged inactivity reduces energy, impairs cognitive function, and increases the risk of chronic conditions. Highly successful individuals often structure their day to include intentional physical activity, not as a sporadic effort but as a consistent, non-negotiable practice. A single transformative exercise is the morning activation routine. Begin the day with a sequence of movements that elevate heart rate, engage major muscle groups, and promote circulation. This could include dynamic stretches, body weight exercises, or a brisk walk. The immediate effect is heightened alertness, while the long-term benefit is sustained energy throughout the day. Real-world application shows the power of this practice. A CEO of a growing company began dedicating 15 minutes each morning to a simple routine of jumping jacks, push-ups, and torso twists. Initially, it felt like a small and almost negligible effort. Within weeks, he noticed enhanced focus during meetings, sharper problem-solving skills, and a greater capacity to maintain energy through long workdays. What started as 15 minutes compounded into improved productivity, resilience, and a stronger sense of overall well-being. Nutrition is equally central to energy and performance. Fueling the body with whole, nutrient-dense foods provides sustained mental clarity and physical stamina. Highly productive people avoid reactive eating habits and instead plan meals to support function rather than indulgence. For instance, incorporating lean proteins, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats, stabilizes blood sugar, and prevents energy crashes. A software developer, previously relying on sugary snacks for quick bursts, shifted to balanced breakfasts and snacks. Within days, cognitive sharpness increased, mood stabilized, and afternoon slumps disappeared. The ripple effect of proper nutrition extends far beyond the immediate hour of consumption. Hydration is another often overlooked component of peak performance. Dehydration, even at mild levels, impairs concentration, slows reaction times, and reduces endurance. Drinking water consistently throughout the day, particularly upon waking, primes the body and brain for optimal function. A journalist covering fast-paced events adopted a strategy of keeping a water bottle at hand at all times and setting periodic reminders. Not only did fatigue decrease, but decision-making speed and clarity improved noticeably, demonstrating the tangible benefits of this simple habit. Sleep is non-negotiable for those seeking sustained performance. Restorative sleep consolidates learning, repairs the body, and resets hormonal balance. Highly effective people prioritize sleep as rigorously as any meeting or deadline, understanding that compromise undermines productivity. A financial analyst adjusted her evening routine to allow for 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, implementing consistent bedtimes and limiting screen exposure. Within weeks, she experienced enhanced focus, faster problem solving, and improved emotional regulation, illustrating the foundational role of sleep in daily energy management. Stress management directly impacts performance and energy. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, depletes vitality, and clouds judgment. Highly successful individuals integrate techniques to regulate stress, maintain calm, and sustain focus. One effective practice is brief, scheduled mindfulness or breathing exercises interspersed through the day. Even 3 minutes of controlled breathing before a demanding task restores mental clarity, reduces tension, and improves decision-making. An executive facing frequent high-pressure negotiations began implementing 3-minute breathing pauses before every meeting. The effect was immediate. Communication became clearer, negotiations were calmer, and post-meeting exhaustion decreased significantly. The power of consistency cannot be overstated. Short, daily practices, whether exercise, nutrition, hydration, sleep, or stress management, compound over weeks and months, producing health outcomes that magnify capacity for sustained performance. Success is rarely the result of sporadic intensity. It emerges from small, deliberate, habitual choices maintained over time. Environment plays a crucial role in supporting health. Surroundings that encourage movement, access to wholesome foods, and reduced exposure to stressors amplify adherence to positive habits. A creative professional redesigned her workspace to include a standing desk, accessible healthy snacks, and scheduled stretch breaks. The result was not only increased physical activity but improved mood, creativity, and energy levels throughout the day. Optimizing the environment removes friction from healthy practices, making them more automatic and resilient. Tracking progress reinforces commitment. Recording workouts, water intake, sleep patterns, or dietary habits creates accountability and visualizes improvement. A project manager began logging daily steps, calories consumed, and sleep hours. Over time, patterns emerged that highlighted areas for adjustment, encouraging informed decisions rather than guesswork. The process turned abstract intentions into measurable action, increasing motivation and reinforcing the link between health and performance. Energy management is also about aligning tasks with natural rhythms. Individuals experience fluctuations in alertness, focus, and stamina throughout the day. Scheduling demanding work during peak energy periods and routine or administrative tasks during lower energy periods ensures optimal output. A software engineer identified morning hours as his most focused period, dedicating it to complex coding. Afternoon hours, when mental fatigue set in, were allocated to simpler tasks such as code review and emails. This strategic alignment conserved energy for high-value work, improving overall productivity. Movement need not be confined to formal exercise. Micro-activities interspersed throughout the day maintain circulation, prevent stiffness, and boost cognitive function. Standing meetings, walking calls, and brief stretching breaks counter sedentary habits that erode long-term health. A consultant incorporated 2-minute stretch breaks every hour, resulting in reduced tension, fewer headaches, and enhanced alertness during client sessions. These seemingly minor interventions, repeated consistently, yield compounding benefits over time. Mental stimulation is intertwined with physical health. Engaging the mind through learning, problem-solving, or creative activity promotes cognitive resilience, sustaining performance, even under demanding conditions. A professional balancing multiple projects included 15 minutes of reading or skill practice daily. This mental exercise reinforced problem-solving skills, creativity, and adaptability, complementing physical energy practices. Ultimately, health practices are strategic tools for maximizing energy, focus, and performance. They are not optional, but integral to sustained success. The combination of movement, nutrition, hydration, sleep, stress management, and alignment with natural rhythms forms a resilient framework that enables high performance under pressure. Each element compounds with the others, creating a feedback loop where enhanced energy fuels productivity, which reinforces motivation to maintain healthy practices. By embedding deliberate health practices into daily routines, individuals transform energy management from a passive concern into an active driver of success. Small, consistent actions accumulate into long-term vitality, resilience, and performance. The result is a life in which focus, creativity, and endurance are sustained, enabling achievement at the highest levels. Health is not just a foundation for performance. It is the engine that powers the sustained execution of goals, ensuring that capacity, clarity, and energy are available precisely when they are most needed. Chapter 9. Reflecting nightly to improve tomorrow's decisions. Every day presents a multitude of choices, interactions, and actions, many of which pass unnoticed or unexamined. Highly successful people understand that the quality of tomorrow's decisions is determined by how well they process and learn from today. Reflection is not a passive activity. It is an active, deliberate process that converts experiences into insight, mistakes into wisdom, and successes into repeatable strategies. Nightly reflection is the bridge between intention and action. A moment to pause, review, and prepare for the opportunities and challenges ahead with clarity and foresight. The first principle of effective reflection is honesty. This does not mean self-criticism or dwelling on failures, but an unflinching acknowledgement of what happened, what worked, and what did not. By creating a truthful account of the day, patterns emerge, patterns that reveal strengths to leverage and weaknesses to address. Highly successful individuals consistently ask themselves specific questions. Which actions produced results? Where did attention falter? Which decisions aligned with long-term objectives? By interrogating the day in a structured, calm manner, the mind begins to extract lessons that are often overlooked in the rush of daily life. One practical technique is the evening 3-question reflection. Each night, take 10 minutes to answer 3 focused questions. What did I accomplish today that matters most? What challenges or mistakes did I encounter, and how could I handle them better next time? What is one action I can take tomorrow to improve or build momentum? This practice channels thought, prevents rumination, and ensures that reflection is purposeful rather than scattered. Real-world application illustrates the transformative power of nightly reflection. A project manager struggling to keep multiple initiatives on track implemented this three-question practice. Initially, writing down accomplishments and challenges felt simple, almost trivial. Within a month, she noticed that her planning for the next day became sharper, recurring mistakes diminished, and she could prioritize tasks with greater clarity. Her evenings, once filled with anxiety and mental clutter, became structured periods of insight and preparation, directly impacting productivity and stress levels. Reflection enhances self-awareness. Many decisions fail not because of lack of knowledge, but because of blind spots in behavior, emotion, or thought processes. By reviewing daily actions, highly successful people identify cognitive biases, habitual reactions, and emotional triggers. A sales professional, for instance, realized through nightly review that impatience during client calls led to missed opportunities. Awareness of this pattern allowed him to implement strategies to remain composed, ask better questions, and listen actively, which improved outcomes and strengthened client relationships. Journaling is a powerful tool for consolidating nightly reflection. Writing forces clarity, organizes thoughts, and creates a record that can be revisited over time. The physical act of writing engages the brain differently than mental review, enhancing retention and insight. A startup founder began keeping a brief journal each night, recording decisions, outcomes, and emotional responses. Over 6 months, trends became evident. Certain hours of the day yielded better focus, specific communication approaches resonated with clients, and recurring challenges were identified early. This written reflection directly informed daily planning and strategic adjustments. Reflection also serves as an emotional reset. The day inevitably includes stress, conflict, and frustration. By reviewing events, deliberately acknowledging emotions, and separating them from facts, individuals gain composure and perspective. A teacher facing challenging classroom dynamics reflected nightly on interactions, identifying what could be improved and what was beyond control. This practice reduced lingering frustration, allowed for intentional responses the following day, and increased overall effectiveness and patience. Linking reflection to actionable plans amplifies impact. Observation alone does not improve outcomes unless it informs decisions and behaviors. Highly successful people extract specific, achievable actions from their review. A professional athlete reviewing daily performance identifies technical errors, mental lapses, or energy fluctuations, and creates targeted exercises or strategies for improvement. These deliberate, incremental adjustments, guided by nightly insight, compound into significant growth over time. Patterns are revealed most clearly through cumulative reflection. While a single night's review may highlight minor points, consistent documentation uncovers trends and root causes. A financial analyst tracking decision outcomes nightly noticed that certain market behaviors repeatedly caught her off guard. Recognizing the pattern allowed her to implement a monitoring system and decision framework that reduced errors and increased confidence. Continuous reflection thus transforms intuition into structured understanding and enhances predictive ability. Accountability complements nightly reflection. Sharing insights or plans with a mentor, coach, or trusted colleague strengthens commitment to improvement. For instance, an executive reflecting nightly on leadership decisions shared key insights weekly with a mentor. This external feedback not only validated observations, but also introduced new perspectives, reinforcing growth and refining decision-making. The combination of personal reflection and external input accelerates learning and ensures that patterns are accurately interpreted. Time management intersects with nightly reflection. Scheduling a brief, consistent period for review ensures it becomes habitual rather than optional. Highly successful people protect this time as a critical investment in their future self, much like they protect meetings or strategic planning sessions. A designer allocated 15 minutes before bed to reflect on client feedback and creative choices. This consistency led to improved design solutions, faster problem solving, and increased confidence in decision-making during the following workday. Reflection also strengthens focus and prioritization. Reviewing daily actions illuminates which efforts yielded disproportionate results and which consumed resources with minimal impact. A startup founder noticed through nightly analysis that networking and customer interviews produced far more insights than extensive market research reports. By realigning time toward high-impact activities, productivity increased and decision-making became more efficient. The process transforms hindsight into foresight, ensuring that tomorrow's efforts are more strategic and purposeful. The practice of reflecting nightly cultivates resilience. Understanding that mistakes are part of growth, highly successful individuals approach errors analytically rather than emotionally. This mindset fosters learning, reduces fear of failure, and encourages experimentation. A software developer, frustrated by repeated coding errors, began nightly reflection to isolate root causes rather than dwell on frustration. This shift improved problem solving, reduced anxiety, and accelerated skill acquisition. Ultimately, nightly reflection is a tool that bridges experience and improvement. By dedicating deliberate time to review accomplishments, challenges, emotional responses, and decisions, individuals sharpen insight, enhance self-awareness, and prepare intentionally for the next day. The cumulative effect of this consistent practice transforms ordinary routines into structured opportunities for growth. Small nightly investments compound over weeks and months, producing enhanced clarity, better prioritization, improved performance, and greater confidence. Through disciplined reflection, individuals gain a distinct advantage, the ability to approach each new day with intentionality rather than reaction, informed by the lessons of yesterday. Patterns are recognized, errors corrected, successes reinforced, and strategy refined. What seems like a brief nightly habit ultimately reshapes decision-making, focus, and effectiveness, demonstrating that consistent reflection is not merely a mental exercise. It is a strategic, actionable practice that drives continuous improvement and long-term achievement. Chapter 10. Consistency and Discipline as the Ultimate Success Tools. Success is rarely the result of a single breakthrough, a moment of inspiration, or a lucky opportunity. True achievement emerges from the quiet, deliberate practice of showing up consistently, of applying effort day after day, and of adhering to disciplined routines even when motivation wanes. Highly successful people recognize that talent and intelligence are amplified exponentially by the compounding effects of persistence and structure. Consistency and discipline are not merely habits, they are strategic tools that shape outcomes, reinforce character, and create momentum that carries through every aspect of life. At the heart of discipline is choice. Every day presents countless decisions, some trivial, some pivotal. Individuals who excel consistently select actions aligned with long-term objectives rather than short-term impulses. This intentionality transforms routine tasks into powerful instruments of growth. Consider the practice of daily priority execution. Each morning, identify the one task that will have the greatest impact on long-term goals, then commit to completing it fully before attending to distractions or lower-value activities. The immediate effect is focus. The long-term effect is a body of work that compounds toward meaningful achievement. Real-world examples illustrate the power of this practice. A writer struggling with inconsistent output began dedicating the first hour of every morning to uninterrupted writing, no matter the length or quality of the draft. At first, progress seemed incremental. Within months, however, the steady accumulation of words produced multiple completed manuscripts and strengthened creative confidence. This consistency, rooted in disciplined daily action, created outcomes far beyond what sporadic bursts of effort could achieve. Discipline reinforces consistency by removing reliance on fluctuating motivation. Motivation is fleeting and often influenced by mood, external conditions, or perceived obstacles. Relying on it alone leads to irregular performance and missed opportunities. Structured routines, on the other hand, ensure that essential actions are completed regardless of how one feels in the moment. A fitness trainer, for instance, scheduled workouts at the same time every morning, even on days of fatigue or mental resistance. The commitment to a fixed schedule ensured physical progress and reinforced mental resilience. Compounding is a natural result of consistency. Small, repeated actions accumulate into significant results over time, often surpassing the effects of sporadic, intense effort. Saving a fixed amount each day, reading a chapter daily, or dedicating a short block to skill development produces exponential benefits over months and years. An investor applying disciplined daily analysis of market trends, even for a short period, gains a nuanced understanding that transforms decision-making capacity and long-term returns. The principle of accumulation demonstrates that sustained effort, even at modest intensity, consistently yields remarkable outcomes. Accountability amplifies the effectiveness of discipline by establishing systems to monitor adherence, whether through tracking, journaling, or external accountability partners. Individuals maintain focus and commitment. A startup founder aiming to develop coding proficiency documented daily progress and shared updates with a mentor. This visibility reinforced discipline, encouraged problem solving when obstacles arose, and ultimately accelerated skill acquisition. Accountability transforms private intention into observable commitment, reinforcing the consistency necessary for success. Flexibility within discipline enhances sustainability. Rigid adherence without reflection can lead to burnout or diminishing returns. Highly successful people integrate structured evaluation periods to assess routines, refine strategies, and adjust priorities without abandoning the underlying commitment to consistent action. A marketing executive reviewing weekly campaign results adjusted task allocation based on impact and efficiency, maintaining disciplined effort while ensuring optimal outcomes. Strategic reflection strengthens discipline, preventing mechanical repetition and ensuring meaningful application. The psychological dimension of consistency cannot be ignored. Repeated, disciplined action cultivates confidence, reinforces self-efficacy, and diminishes the intimidation of large goals. By breaking monumental objectives into daily actions, tasks become manageable and progress tangible. An entrepreneur launching a new product divided preparation into daily steps, research, outreach, prototype testing, consistently executed. Within months, the cumulative effect of disciplined daily work resulted in a launch that would have seemed overwhelming without structured consistency. Rituals and habits are instruments for embedding consistency. Creating cues, sequences, and environmental triggers ensures that desired actions occur automatically. A professional writer designed a workspace that signaled writing time. A clean desk, specific lighting, and dedicated writing software opened daily at the same hour. Over time, the body and mind associated these cues with productive action, reducing friction and reliance on willpower. Habit formation transforms discipline into effortless execution, allowing high performance to persist even during periods of low motivation. Persistence in the face of obstacles is inseparable from discipline. Highly successful individuals encounter setbacks, yet consistency ensures that temporary failures do not derail progress. Each effort contributes to an accumulation of experience, skill, and knowledge that compounds future outcomes. A software developer facing repeated bugs in a new coding project maintained a disciplined schedule of problem-solving, research, and incremental testing. Within weeks, persistent effort yielded a robust solution, demonstrating that disciplined continuity transforms challenges into breakthroughs. Integration of consistency across multiple domains reinforces overall achievement. Health, learning, relationships, and work all benefit from structured, repeated effort. By aligning daily routines with core values and objectives, individuals cultivate momentum that transcends individual tasks. A professional balancing work, fitness, and skill development created a structured schedule allocating specific blocks to each priority. Over time, balanced consistency produced improvement across all areas, demonstrating that disciplined attention to multiple facets of life compounds success holistically. Visualization complements discipline by clarifying objectives and reinforcing commitment. Highly successful individuals frequently envision the outcomes of consistent action, linking present effort with future reward. A musician practicing daily scales and compositions, mentally rehearsed performances, and anticipated audience responses. This visualization reinforced motivation, deepened engagement, and strengthened the connection between disciplined practice and ultimate achievement. The mind's projection of success acts as a catalyst for persistent, focused action. Finally, reflection consolidates the power of consistency. Reviewing progress, evaluating routines, and adjusting strategies ensures that disciplined action produces meaningful, not just habitual results. An executive reviewing weekly sales metrics identified trends, refined processes, and adjusted focus areas, ensuring that daily consistency translated into measurable improvement. Reflection transforms mechanical execution into intelligent, purpose-driven action, maximizing the return on disciplined effort. Consistency and discipline are the invisible engines behind achievement. They convert intention into action, potential into performance, and effort into results. The compound effect of repeated, deliberate daily action produces outcomes that far exceed sporadic bursts of effort. By embedding structured routines, accountability mechanisms, reflective practices, and purposeful habits into daily life, individuals create a framework that sustains performance, accelerates growth, and generates lasting impact. Success is less about extraordinary moments and more about ordinary actions executed reliably. Each day presents a new opportunity to reinforce discipline, maintain consistency, and advance toward meaningful goals. Over months and years, these repeated, intentional efforts aggregate into mastery, achievement, and resilience. Discipline ensures that action continues even when motivation fades. Consistency ensures that progress accumulates steadily, producing results that are visible, measurable, and transformative. By committing to deliberate, daily practices grounded in consistency and discipline, individuals transform potential into achievement. Small, repeated actions accumulate into long-term excellence, resilience, and capability. The process reinforces confidence, strengthens focus, and empowers individuals to navigate complexity and pressure with composure. Ultimately, consistency and discipline are not merely strategies, they are the ultimate tools for turning aspiration into reality, creating a life marked by sustained success, purposeful action, and measurable impact.